on back, 3 back. Fortnite fan, we hope you are enjoying all of the action. That was game number 3. We still have 3 to go. First, a break. When we come back, we're gonna take a look at this lobby list. You're about to be in shock. We'll see you in just a moment.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Two teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting up Vanya. 3v1.
We are back. Really quickly, I said lobby list. What I meant was standings. In case you're just tuning in, you've missed the fact that Clicks and Higgs got 2 back-to-back victory royales in a major finals lobby. Now, I told you that you would be shocked. Now, remember, after game 2, we're like, Clicks and Higgs should be in first place, right? Well, you know what's crazy? They are kind of in first place right now as we bring up the standings, but interestingly enough, Kelly, we are actually tied currently because Cold and Rapid decided, you know what we're going to do in this last game? We're going to get a second place with 11 eliminations. And here we are. Scores are tied.
I mean, Vivid, you're asking how, but between 9 and 20 eliminations, that right there is a 44-point difference. And if we look at their average placement, yes, Clicks and Higgs do have a 2.33 average placement, but Cold and Rapid are right behind them with a 5.67 average placement. So we talked about it. We're going to talk about it again, that it doesn't just need one facet of your game to do well. You can't just grab a bunch of eliminations, or you can't just grab a bunch of wins. You have to be able to do both, and that is what Cold and Rapid are doing. They're making sure that they're making it to the end game every single time. For some reason, someone's giving them the mythic reloader, and this is what is allowing them to just have so much damage and so much control on the low ground that the teams that are on high ground, like Clicks, is not even able to get any eliminations.
Ew. Oh my gosh, Rapid fending off, winning. the 1v2 there on Largon. I didn't even catch that. But as you can see there, when we actually tune into Rapid, when that solo clutch started, they were on 180 points when Cold went down. So Rapid himself, just being a solo in the end game, picking up 1v2s like that, picked up 30 points to put them on 210. So an incredible performance right there from Rapid to kind of keep them at the top of the leaderboard.
And that was the game that like we were calling out for, right? Like right before this game, we were saying, you know, we're kind of waiting for that big pop off Cold and Rapid game, and they just had it, right? And it's enough to go ahead and tie up first. We have a competition on our hands that is so crazy. Man, even Agers and Ritual right now holding on. And I think what's crazy too, if you look in 5th place, Peterbot and Poyo, right? We've kind of continued to see Pete and Poyo get in the situation where one of them is left solo. But even in these tough situations, they're only 60 points behind. Like, this isn't like, hey, first place is like 100 points behind or like over 100. Like, we saw what one good game can do for Cold and Rapid, right? Peterbot and Poyo, they just need that one game. And then suddenly, like, that gap closes, right?
Yeah, Peterbot and Poyo right now are kind of just, I think they're failing from too much success. They're doing too much on the mid ground right now, and that's kind of putting them into these a little bit of rough positions because they're being so aggressive, because they're looking around at all these different angles on the mid ground. They're getting kind of like chopped out. They're getting pulled out so that they're ending up being a solo over and over again. And although it is Peterbot, and if anyone can run a solo game, it's going to be him. Eventually, you are going to need to be a full duo going into the end game right now. And I think that is just the slight issue that we're having with Peterbot and Poyo. But I say that, and if you look historically, Peterbot and Poyo are a day 2 team. They're already climbing up the leaderboard, Vivid. So although they might not be having the first 3 games that they want, it is definitely not the end for this duo.
Yeah, I think the larger theme here of the fact that still towards the top of our leaderboard, even like the top 10, it still feels like an incredibly close competition, even though we just had, over the course of 3 games, a team win 2 of those games. So crazy stuff kind of happening over here on NA. Every single team, every one of our top teams is picking up points some way, somehow, and they're keeping themselves in the fight.
Oh my gosh, dude. Viv, talk to me about the damage numbers right now. You looked up a stat.
This is cool.
I love you're the stat guy. Hit me with these stats right now. Oh, man.
Over the course of the first 3 games, this is how our damage ratios are kind of breaking down. Clicks and Higgs individually both find themselves in 1st and 2nd place, which I just think is crazy, because going into game number 3 right here, it kind of panned out like this as well. Like Clicks was up there like 5+. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to take a look at the damage ratio after game 3. It got better. His damage ratio increased somehow after game number 3. And if you remember how game number 1 and game number 2 kind of panned out, how many people were going up for higher ground, how many people were fighting them for it, and they still had like these incredibly positive damage ratios. And again, game number 3, that one, yeah, it's kind of justifiable because, you know, we talked about how nobody looked up towards high ground, so it makes sense that they didn't really take that much damage, but those guys are playing super, super good.
That's just wild to me, because we would talk so highly of Cold back when he would get like a 3.0 damage ratio.
Yeah.
That was almost unheard of. And yes, we are only halfway through. I'm sure those numbers are going to be adjusted as the tournament goes on, but absolutely incredible showing from Clicks.
Yeah, and I think if we could just get nitpicky for like a second, right? And this is kind of like we're kind of like talking about this a little bit before break, but yes, we love that they're getting the victory royales, right? But we're not hitting those like elim thresholds that we need to be seeing, right? That's why Cold and Rapid suddenly shoot up the standings, right? Because remember, we have that extra point, Kelly, and it doesn't sound like a lot. 1 more point, okay, big deal. But these elims, they will very quickly stack up, especially if you hit double digits.
I mean, when you consider 1 point is, I said 25% before last time, I was wrong. 33% increase is a huge stat increase for any number. And of course, when it's eliminations, when there are teams that focus on eliminations, having you just eventually just go up to them and be like, hey, that tournament that you just did, let's give you 33% more points for your eliminations. And if you look at some of these Div Cup finals, if you have it in the format for grand finals, where it's 4 points per elimination, it would be very different teams in the top of our leaderboard.
Yeah. Zeke's greedy, man. He wants more. He's like, yeah, looks like I got 2 wins. I want elims. Like, dude.
Don't, why are you putting my, you know what, casters help. Just take it away.
Yeah, I want to give credit to Clicks and Higgs. I think what we're watching is the best team as far as positioning and decision making going against the best team at eliminating and running things on the low and mid ground right now. And again, it's only 3 games in, right, Jacobs? But the identity is starting to take shape for these duos.
Yeah, it just almost seems, especially for like Clicks and Higgs, is they are going to win this major one or lose this major one for something they did or didn't do in their own right. They have full control over their own destiny here. A little bit of a passive game plan here. That's how they've been able to get 2 victory rounds, Monster, and they're tied for first place. I don't want to cause any curses, but could this be the major? We're already done with half of day number 1. We're jumping into game 4 to start the second half.
This game 4 is going to be an important one. It's going to be the solidifying factor of how did you do generally here on the day. All you need is a good 4 games to be very much in a race to contest a championship weekend. And we are already 3 down. Well, one thing's for certain though, Jacob, no one's playing super perfect just yet, right? Every duo so far has a little bit more to be desired in one area or another.
I was gonna say Sniper Dude and Avenger reaching on over to this side of the map to try to take on Jack and Npen. Avenger and Sniper Dude, they were landing on the eastern side of the map, almost triple contesting their drop. I thought they were maybe gonna make their way on over towards Wonky Land because that is where they have been playing time in and time out, whether it's a divisional cup or the actual finals lobbies. They're trying to switch things up more so in their favor. Paper and Resi. Split drop here. You can see the 2 differences. Top of the mountain, inside of the house. And Teeks already getting a good amount of damage onto Paper as he tries to make his way down.
Yeah, great amount of damage right there being secured. Resi just opting to back up and get to the usual plan here for the loots. The opponents back off as well. Anyway, Clicks Higgs on the other side. Still, so far, no team has decided to give them any friction just yet. Everyone's somewhat sticking to their strategy, sticking to the game plan, if you will. Just a quick highlight, though. We're at the Sanctuary. Nice little elim here for Sinwatch.
Got Chimp over here on this side of the map. This side of the map is just so stacked. Even if you're uncontested, it's never easy to make your way on out. Chimp sees a battle in the distance, easily third parties it for a good amount of damage, forcing Ruins to go down low. Catman getting knocked all together. The team actually officially eliminated thanks to more than one team looking on over in this direction. It's not slowing down either. Zypta, Void making their way on over, hearing some of the noise, and they're just trying to figure out what is it all about.
I was going to say, remember, Zypta and Void were just putting some shots onto Paper in Resi there, so interesting to see how many teams are willing to quickly rotate towards the Sanctuary to get in on the action here. In the end, though, everything seems to settle down now, Jacob.
Ooh,
What's this?
different approach. You know, they must have been listening to the stream. Zeke was like, I want elims. Kelly's saying 4 points per. We could probably see a different leaderboard if that's how it's going to be. Clicks and Higgs say, you know what? Things have been decided by less than 1 elimination. The majors have proven. The last 3, all last year, Monster, were all decided by either 4 or less eliminations, proving that it could be the difference maker here, even with 2 wins, tied in first place with Cold and Rapid, who, guess what, Monster, have been picking up eliminations. So Clicks and Higgs trying to take a page out of their own playbook here, trying to go aggressive for the north side of the map instead of just sitting at Wonky Land and letting teams and damage pass you by.
I like it. It seems like this game, they had a bit of a different strategy. Obviously, early game fight's super important, but more importantly is they recognize, hey, the zone's right on top of us. So they kind of pull this card out of the books there. You'd love to see it. Back on over to Venno and Curve, also staying relatively dynamic. No lurk plays for this one. This is another just full-on clash happening here in front of us. Great tag so far. Curve thinking about going in for the shock move there for a second. Oh, those are some big tags. Wouldn't be surprised if now's the time.
Yeah, I was about to say, now it's Shockwave. Shockwave, just thinking in my head, Curve does exactly that. Shockwave's over. Close the distance, reunites with Venno, trying to take two different approaches. Electro just trying to hold him off, but the persistence is there, not only from one, but both of these players. But Venno goes down. He enters into the box, 2v1. Electro and Ult get that elimination. Curve with no shield, honestly 55 HP, almost one shot away from going down. You know they're going to be on the chase.
They're coming in quick. Tyler and Chance are moving in fast as well here. Curve, though, doesn't get caught out by the visual audio cue there while he was eating pizzas. Lucky for him. And look, he actually had to ditch what was left of the box just to stay low here. Take a look, though. We haven't seen Venno lose a fight like this here. Not today. He's been winning these for the most part, but Electro just connects with some big tags there.
Right before we went to the replay monster, I saw them stealing his pizza. Curve, man, how can you let them do that? But hey, sometimes you just gotta let them run away with it, or at least think they can, so that way you can hopefully get Venno back into the game. Consistency is definitely going to be key throughout the weekend. Yes, we do have our top two, but you see a little bit of a gap start to open up from third and down, and honestly, that's going to continue to be the case here for top 13 overall is what's going to make it to the Summit land. So you see not just first place FNCS, not just the mountains of prize money, but just to keep your journey to globals alive.
You know, we were all curious on how Rituals and Ager's Storm Surge strategy was going to work out in the early game. So far, we haven't quite seen their definitive route, but we are seeing a little sample of it. Ager's just playing that high ground right now, looking to tag any teams in the general area who are boxing and or rotating around, and seem to be playing their drop very deep into the storm, and so far it's working for them, right? As they're finding themselves in the top 5. Peterbot, Boyo, different strat for them now. Playing the big base here as well. Last game, they were pretty much boots on the ground, keying into boxes and teams anywhere in the vicinity. But for all we know, Peterbot is looking to call a target out.
You know, there was a time a few months ago, before FNCS Divisional Cups even started, and Peterbot was kind of taking a little bit of a break. Players were looking at Clix and Higgs saying they are the team to beat. Higgs is the best player in the game right now. Everybody was saying it's off season, it doesn't matter, Peterbot's not trying. Guess what? Divisional Cups roll around, the same type of conversation continues to start up, and guess what? Peterbot shows up, he shuts down the talk. But now that FNCS is actually here, we got Clix and Higgs proving that, hey, maybe teams were calling it a little early, but they could be right with the way they've been playing so far. But you have to watch out. Not only those two teams I mentioned, but Cold and Rapid as well. Rapid has been on an insane hot streak to start the year. He's even had a second place in years prior with Higgs in a different tournament. So he has right now a good as chance as anybody else to probably win this tournament.
It's crazy when you think reputation. To have a reputation like Codes where it's like, don't worry, he's going to show up and do what he needs to do is actually just incredible. He is doing it so far here today. Again, we're only 3 games in. It would be silly of us to call it, right? There's a lot of Fortnite ahead of us, and I'm sure we're going to see tons of adjustments, especially not only for the last 2 games, but leaning into tomorrow. Who's going to pick up their replays and come up with some new strategies? We will, of course, have to see that. Visual and Braids continuing somewhat of the pace, if you will, right? Game 1 was a victory. Obviously, the last 2, not quite so, but they've still managed to stay very much in the competition so far. They're looking like a shoo-in potentially for the land spot.
Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of their drop spot here. A little bit of a split drop just outside of Dark Dominion. You see the Fun Factory, the Carmine Lodge. That's kind of the split in between the two. No matter where the zone actually pulls, they set up on that mountain, because whether it pulls north, south, east, or west, chances are teams are going to have to rotate through them, or at least the paths where they can get shots. And we tune into Curve, still forced to lurk around. They are just waiting for him there. Even when you can buy reboot cards, Curve is just left with very few choices here. As Avenger and Sniper Dude, I talk about them possibly making their return to Wonky Land. It wasn't at the start of this game, but they're still making their presence known over here.
Higgs Clix already looking to secure some eliminations right now. Again, nothing has come of it just yet. There's a team there. Obviously, Higgs is eyeing them up. I'm pretty sure they recognize There's that duo behind that wall there. Flix, though, has a lot to be desired when it comes to the overall loadout just so far. That material count looking a bit light. Comes the big super pad setup right now for Acorn and Bolts. They're playing this rotate through the dead side of the storm. They actually want to opt to stay in the storm. You can see the marker coming out there.
Yeah, and because we saw what Clicks and Higgs, Sniper Dude, Avenger, even saw Cole and Madden all converging over towards Wonky Land. This is going to make it essentially a free rotation towards the western edge of the map. All the teams that could land those shots are already busy, focused on entirely something else. Just trying to stay alive, trying to get surge, so we should see Acorn and Bolts in a good position this game around. And better late than never in the second half of the day, trying to play catch up to what's been going on around you throughout the game so far. Listen and Aloe, same thing so far, 16 points. Half of those coming in this game alone, contested towards the new Sanctuary. They're able to pick up those 2 eliminations, and sometimes you just need a big moment like that to get things going.
As we're watching this, I'm still thinking about Curve, who was sitting at the reboot card while Electro and company were just lurking, holding it down, talking about that team. You can see in the distance here, Threats actually putting down some shots onto them as they thought they were slick hiding out there. And for Threats and Veer, they might have just saved Veno's tournament here if that distraction's enough for Electro and crew to have to make a move.
Still relatively early, 1 tick, storm damage, plenty of time to decide. See, listen, Aloe rotating on over towards Sus Studios, one of the last teams. Say from this side of the map, you still do got a couple more over towards New Sanctuary, but they're just kind of making a pit stop here, healing up before they make their rotation on out. And you see the zip line, they're not necessarily going to carry that into the end of the game. They're just going to use it for right now. That way they can make this rotation just a little bit easier. As Penta spots an opportunity in the distance, he immediately goes after it.
This is crazy. Curve is actually 300 damage above the surge somehow. Still as a solo. It looks like he might have been putting up a strong defense against Zyfta there for a second. And now contemplating if it's time to go for the reboot. But of course, he's going to make a quick pit stop here for the machine. See if he can pick up some heals to go in and sustain himself here in the storm. I mean, odds. What do you think the odds are looking like right now for Curve here?
I believe in Curve. I believe in Curve. I think he's the new era when it comes to NA Central. He's had some big moments in the past, even before teaming with Veno. It's just Neo, it's just lurking around. You see Noisy, you see Listen, you see Aloe. And so, yeah, you might think they have to go to zone, but for Curve, he's still being hunted down. Look at it in the mini-map. They might have spotted him out. You hear the shockwaves going off. First shot's going to connect on the Curve. The second one as well. Less than 5 HP. Time is not on his side to get the medkits off. Neo and Noisy. I'm not sure where they got a glimpse of Curve, but they really made that little moment count.
Yeah, Curve needed to just overbuild right there. Get a couple splashes out and try to survive. But unfortunately, he couldn't put up the offense needed. And they fall in 10th positioning now. That's going to be a really tough one to deal with now as we're in game 4, so we're getting deep into the tournament day 1 here. Rapid, on the other hand, just kind of healing up right now. Still haven't secured any new points here. Nothing fresh earned.
I think that's the difference between Cold and Rapid and some of the other teams is they not only get all the gold, they don't necessarily wait to access the vending machine. They buy their med kits early, so it's much safer for them to sit up there and wait the storm out before they start to rotate in. See, Agers, Ritual, decent loadout, having to rotate. Jargu and Carillion, 1 elimination so far, 600 damage above the threshold. Things can definitely change on course of this rotation. You see them rotating right behind Agers and Ritual. They make a quick peek, try to get some damage. Don't really find too much success, but at least they keep themselves moving.
Sphinx dropped here on this moving zone right now. Muzz is getting chased here. They're looking to try to finish this one up. It might not have been their Elim, but they definitely had influence in it. You can see the loot just sitting here as the lobby all kind of focusing in here and now. Boy and Peterbot do have to be careful, though, not to end up like game 2, fully focused by the remaining lobby. And Muzz barely skates out of there. But, you know, I wanted to say one thing about Cold and Rapid. Last game, they had no Elims going into that endgame, and then all of a sudden they just took off, rocketing their way straight up. So that is going to be where they shine the most so far. This game is looking exactly like that. Meanwhile, Agers and Ritual, though, Jacob here, are 50 damage below right now.
Yeah, first thing that popped in my mind as we tune in, uh-oh. Not where I expected this team to be going into FNCS. Constant struggles here at Forster, just below the threshold for sure. Depending on where the next zone goes, they might have to go up the side of the mountain, but they see solo players trying to work their way in. They do land a couple of shots, but I was gonna say not necessarily enough to get above, but they do jump 65 damage above that threshold. Not enough to continue to hold that confidence, but for now it's with them grabbing a breath of fresh air, letting the lobby kind of settle. They have almost a max pull, just like a few other teams, so they're just trying to pinpoint where they're going to start using those shockwaves to make them.
So a little glimpse of CDZ and Raven still in the game right now. This is their first mid-game that we've seen them develop in. But eyes are on Muzz right now. 40 damage above, no Sphinx in sight, still have at least earned themselves a single Elim this game, so it's not a 0-point game. It's a big shockwave here, though. He's got to find himself in a position to actually take a fight or something. But no, look at this. Clicks and Higgs. Higgs is down. Clicks, no heals. Barely anything else to work with. He's got the damage, but he needs a siphon. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh. I'm watching Muzz kind of go crazy as we tune in. Higgs is already down. You can see Clicks in his struggle here. He's already picked up the elimination. No, he does not
So
make
close.
it over in time. Higgs goes down. That kind of leaves a lot of pressure onto Clicks. Top 34 monster placement points have yet to set in, so this is only a 4-point game so far for Clicks in that one elimination. You see he's looking for more opportunities. No shield, no HP, not even a shockwave to boost himself forward, so he has to burn through his materials before he's eventually taken down. The back-to-back will not be a back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah, and that was crazy for him to get the siphon right there to kind of stay in the game. It was looking like there was hope for a moment, but it's just not going to be enough. So down goes Clicks very early in this game before the positioning gets to get rewarded for the rest of the lobby. Hold and Rapid have a chance now to break away. Everyone else inside the top 10 has a chance now to jump up. Hirobot, Boyo need to take advantage of this opportunity. Muzz still holding on. Hey, don't count him out. He's in roughly top 6th or 7th there himself.
This is going to be a big moment right here. Feedback Foil just gearing up, ready, and I was just kind of thinking with Clicks and Higgs down, it's not only Cold and Rapid in which you were talking about, it's Agers and Ritual as well. It's about a 50-point gap between that first and second place tie, and Agers and Ritual are sitting in third place. And so with only a 4-point game for Clicks and Higgs, they're definitely going to try to close that gap, hopefully try to take that top 2 spot after this game. Acorn and Bolts, a couple of speed bumps in their journey so far, but they're looking like here in the second half of the day, they finally figured out how to make things work, rotating underneath the bridge, but you can see not a lot of material or resources left on the Agers.
This is what they do best, though, finding eliminations right now. These big pivotal moments here where placement points and elims are going to start propelling you up the standings. Cold and Rapid at the front side of zone, nothing to worry about right now. They're going to surely be breaking away here if they keep getting this amount of runway to work with. Cold shockwaves deep into the storm there. It was worth it. He picks up a bunch of extra heals, material, and everything else now. So Rapid and Cold, like we said, just at the start of this, have proven to be the strongest low ground team so far here in the lobby, and they're not switching up the strategy at all right now.
Yeah, they get the front side of the zone and immediately return back, starting to build up, giving them time to work with. Even with Acorn and Bolts trying to go ahead and shockwave over, they have a little bit of elevation advantage. Acorn and Bolts going to be stuck underneath. Quick couple of shots going to fire off in their direction. They're going to hold their position. 336 though above the damage threshold. No real reason to peek, but they're just trying to build that cushion. 4 players go down. Storm Surge no longer in this game. And for Agers, it's not necessarily Storm Surge he has to worry about. It's the lack of HP. It's the 0 builds. He needs a miracle here.
Yeah, and I still saw Muzz playing solo as well right now. But look at this. Talk about solos. Pollo is by himself in this end game right now. So close to making it out the edge of zone. He is going to make it. Could find elimination here potentially, but no, not enough shots inside the magazine there. Still though, does need to splash himself here. Goes for the material first and gets shot while going for it. That little bit of shield being the difference maker to keep him in the game right now. He knows there's danger ahead of him. Forcing himself to build right now. Use the shockwave to give himself that unlimited stamina here now too. Agers falls on the left. Boya falls shortly behind him. in the runway. The opportunity to catch up comes to a close there, and things remain competitive now on the standings. Meanwhile, Bolts and Acorn get off the low ground into the high ground here now.
It's a good chance for Bolts and Acorn to play a little catch up. Coming into this game, Monster, they were at 9th place, 126 points. No Clicks and Higgs in this lobby. For the past couple games, it's been them going for high ground, which opens up an opportunity for anybody else if they're daring enough to take it. Reet and Cooper almost picking up an elimination. You can see the desperation in their materials, almost fresh out, and you see Reet going down, just kind of leaves Cooper by himself, trying to hide in that mist, make sure no one could see him, maybe pop off a big shot while he can. Cold and Rapid, though, this is their chance to extend their lead in first place. They were tied up when this game started. Now they're almost at 250 plus points.
Big pressure coming in from Acorn up above. That's almost the decision maker to send Cold back to the lobby, but the pressure's coming in. They see the mist as well, so that's why the shots are focusing in on them. And Bolts and Acorn are recognizing this is their immediate competition right here. This is the threat in the lobby. Who's daring to hold the second height? That's the team they want to send back. Great tracking so far. As now we get to see Braids and Visuals on the bottom right. So far, so good for them. They are slowly creeping their way back up the standings here. From that game 1 victory royale to a strong game 4 right here. They're positioned very well. They're just a couple elims away from being inside the top 3 now. Meanwhile, Jacob, look at this. Cooper is by himself here.
Yep, global champion here, forced in another clutch situation. Good damage, unfortunately enough, not enough to get the elimination. Would have been helpful for the Siphon. Wager Slepsy getting approached. They're forced to scramble outside of the box. They go 2 different directions, though. They don't necessarily have the strength in numbers anymore. As Slepsy gets tagged up, Wagers goes down. Into the wrong box he goes, and what a perfect elimination for Cold. Only thing he was missing there was the HP, and now he picks up the Siphon, looking for more. Slepsy in his path along with Veer. They get good damage. No eliminations just yet, but they're staying persistent, making sure to push them further and further outside of the zone.
That's the problem. If you were hoping Cold and Rapid were going to fall early, well, guess what? They made it deep into the top 10 now. Rapid is going to fall here, but Cold follows up. Clutches get the full elimination there, too, and the Siphon keeps him in the game. Meanwhile, back to Acorn's perspective, just 30 mats now. That's not a winning amount of material just yet, so don't count them just in. But hold up, I'm still seeing Visuals alive. I'm seeing a lot of solos here, Jacob. This is not looking too hot for the low ground teams.
Yeah, unfortunately, Visuals' run comes to an end here. Madden goes down. Cole is still left alive, though. It's essentially solos versus duos up above. Veer and Cole down below. They're clashing. Bolts is ready to steal away the elimination. Remember, 4 points per. Those eliminations could be the difference, but Cole is able to get the elimination onto Veer. That's 4 more points for them, but he's in a tough situation against Acorn, against Bolts, front side of the zone. Medkit just in case, and they're ready to chop it down. No instant retakes for you as Cole's just trying to make a mad dash. His only chance to make it in towards the zone. He gets coned off again, and that opportunity goes out the window. Acorn and Bolts have finally woken up here in the second half of the day to take the VR.
And if you was looking at the standings, you wouldn't have even thought they were in the race at 128 coming into this game. Acorn and Bolts do it in game number 4 there, Zeke.
You see, MDF? You see it all, every time you think like, oh, it's all good, like it just takes one game, a single game. And we knew going into that game that 210 was tied at first. They end with 211, so we know they're probably going to be in the top 5, if not even higher up the leaderboard. Oh my gosh, Acorn and Bolts, let's go. Like the casters point out, they are alive. Guys, this is a live situation. Everything is going crazy.
It is going quite crazy right now, but I do love to see Acorn and Bolts, as we heard Jacob say, finally wake up right now. And it did seem like in that game, a lot of our top teams were struggling a little bit, potentially going down. So that top 5, as you're saying, Zeke, it's quite possible, Vivid.
Crazy stuff. Obviously, we did see, unfortunately, a couple of our top teams, those that are typically found on the high ground over here on this region, did go down early. So good recognition there for Acorn and Bolts to realize, hey, listen, high ground might be our opportunity to kind of go up there. And as soon as they secured high ground, they never lost it for a glimpse. So great work from Acorn and Bolts to kind of go ahead, take the high ground. And I got to tell you, this game, like the casters are kind of calling out, all of the solos, everybody was just kind of tearing themselves apart all on the low ground. I don't know what happened to this lobby, but it's like everybody ran out of mats super fast. There was even like a minute left to this game before the storm fully closed in and the final elimination comes in. Like, this was a early win here for Acorn and Bolts, ending themselves there with 211 points after that game. That one is going to put them in the race.
Guys, I got a sneak peek. I got a sneak peek at the standings. I got a sneak peek.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to find out where they are? We'll have to wait till after this break.
Oh.
When we
There it is.
return, we'll take a look at the standings. They're in the top 5, but you're going to be surprised yet again. See you soon.
Crank up back to back. Oh, just like that. I see a dub in my future stats. Oh, I know a place you can go. The doghouse outside my massive abode. It's lovely, it's cushy, and sometimes it's cold. Now sit and watch me get this gold. Own it all, own it all. I'll bounce back. I just want it all. I just want it all.
Welcome back, Fortnite fam. So, Acorn and Bolts got themselves a victory royale in game number 4. Now, as we called out, we knew going into the game 210 was tied at first, right? So, they end that game with 211 points. They are in the top 5, but it's just a little more complicated than that, because you see, they're currently in 4th place, because if we look up the standings, Clicks and Higgs, even though they had a rough game there, they still managed a handful of points. Visual and Braids in that game as well managed to find themselves points with a 5th place and 4 elims, and look all the way at the top. Cold and Rapid. Oh my gosh. Guys, this is as unpredictable as it gets. To see Visual and Braids, we'll start with them, to come out with a game like this, a 5th place, 4 elims. We're starting to hit that consistency factor right now, Kelly. It's looking really good for them.
Yeah, this is definitely what Visuals and Braids is known for. We saw them do this all throughout last year with Diminished. They are doing such a good job with consistency, and especially being able to be consistent on the low ground when you have huge names like Cold and Rapid running through it. They're playing this so smart and so safely, kind of sticking to the back end of front zone, or the back end of low ground, instead of staying to the front, which is where all the chaos is. But gotta talk about it. Cold and Rapid now with a 51-point lead over second place. And you said that we couldn't have predicted it, but I got a tweet that I sent out earlier or not a tweet, but a text that I sent out earlier that Cold and Rapid are going to end in first place in day one. You all can quote me on that right now, because Cold and Rapid, honestly, when we saw how they've been doing during the scrims, some of these solo clutches that Cold's been able to pull out, I knew that he was locked in. And sure enough, Vivid, we are seeing them today. Show everyone up. You can say that Cold maybe hasn't played in the last few months, but it doesn't matter because he's playing now.
Yeah, I think the big storyline here in this game is that we did see, going into this game, that Cold and Rapid was tied with Clicks and Higgs. With Clicks and Higgs kind of going down early, only able to pick up 4 points. This was their big opportunity to go ahead and create some sort of a lead on our leaderboard. And as you can see right there, they picked up that 6th place for eliminations. And I got to tell you, looking at their games right now, they have yet to place worse than 8th place in any of these games. So just playing incredibly well. But yeah, because of how well they're playing, they've got that lead, 266 points, about a 50-point lead now for them.
That's scary territory, right, Viv? That's scary territory because, yes, with a single game, right, we can close that gap, no problem, but they are now firing on all cylinders, right? Cold and Rapid, like you said, have not placed outside of 8th place. They literally have nailed consistency right here, right now, in just day number 1. Kelly, if we continue this trend, they will pull away, right? If we just get 2 more games like this, that's not going to be a 50-point lead. That could be over 100 points.
That's true. And just the storylines that are coming out, Acorn and Bolts, after winning that game, also climbing up the leaderboard right now. Wouldn't it be just so fitting to have Cold and Acorn fighting for first place in major number 1 instead of it being Peterbot and Clicks? I would just love for that story to develop. Also, Rapid and Bolts are also 2 teammates that have a lot of similarities as well, or former teammates that have a lot of similarities as well, joined by Cold and Acorn. So maybe we're focusing on the wrong story right now, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is a possibility. Speaking about like Peterbot and Pollo, they'd go down early that game as well, which is, another one of those teams that we do expect to see on the high ground, which again, Acorn and Bolts kind of found it a little bit of a breeze to kind of sit up there on the high ground that game. But even though they went down early, Peterbot and Pollo, they're still in 6th place right now. So like Zeke mentioned, one game kind of closed the gap immensely. But right now, about 100-point difference between 1st place and 6th. So that's the difference between Cold and Rapid and Peterbot and Pollo. So a lot of ground to make up if they want to, return to the competition at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, man. It's looking different, right? Like, even if we kind of go back to Clicks and Higgs, right? We have had these games where, and like, just think about it, right? The moment that you have a tough early game or something goes wrong, every single decision these duos are making is pushing them closer or farther up that leaderboard, right? Because in this situation, one thing goes wrong, and now look, we fall early, and that allows the rest of the lobby to catch up. That allows Cold and Rapid to move further away from us, right? Like, it's so crazy how just these micro decisions that the players are making, Kelly, is like, it's either going to make or break their game right now. And right now, more than ever, we can't be allowing that to happen.
No, and it's something that you can kind of expect to happen, even with insane consistent players like Agers and Ritual. They got 21st place, they got 17th place. They're known for being incredibly consistent. So if you look at, teams, regardless of how they perform beforehand, I think what we need to look at is how, once they have a bad game, like a lot of our top teams did in game number 4, how do they recover? Because we know emotions can run high, and a lot of our top teams are very emotional players. And I think when it comes down to emotion, Ritual and Agers are able to stay cool, calm, and collected. So I think although they might not have had kind of the game 2 that we saw them have, that they are definitely not out. And in fact, even with a 21st and a 17th place, they're in 5th. So they're doing just fine.
Man, I like it. Oh my gosh. Okay, look, we got 2 games left to go. And remember, this isn't the end, right? We just have 6 games to prepare ourselves, to kind of lay the groundwork, and then we come back tomorrow for the last 6. And that's where we're gonna go ahead and claim an Axe of Champions, and the top 13 move on to the summit with 2 games left to go. These duos, pressure's on. They need to make sure they're doing everything they can to move up that leaderboard and secure these points. Casters, let's get ready for game 5.
Man, Cold and Rapid are on such a hot streak right now, Monster. I'm not sure what anybody in the lobby has to do to slow them down. They land mid-map. They get a chance at a Mythic. They had Rapid IGLing, who's on the insane streak to start the year.
Yeah, and one thing that we're noticing is they're taking their time. So let's see how game number 5 shapes up for this wonderful team.